Hey folks, how's it going? Dr. Spin. As we're heading towards the end of 2021, I am looking more and more at my album of the year selections, top 20. And I've been working on this process of eliminating albums step by step throughout the course of this last 9 months or so. And I thought I'd bring that process out of the darkness a little bit and share it with you because I think that it's an interesting way to frame albums. A lot of the music I listen to, I vet pretty carefully getting into it. So a lot of what I get, I already know that I'm going to have some attachment to and like. So it makes it difficult. Doing this elimination gives me a process by which I can narrow things down and really get down to the best albums I had this year. So for this week's elimination, I have the collaborative album between Floating Points, Pharoah and the London Symphony Orchestra, Promises. And I've got Soup's The Beauty of Our Youth. Now, this is a 4th tier elimination, which means that Soup's The Beauty of Our Youth has actually been through 3 eliminations so far and survived quite a bit. And I will tell you that I really, really love this album a lot for lots of reasons. Soup, about 2 or 3 years ago, their album that followed this album, Remedies, was album of the year for me. And this album kind of got bundled in when I ordered that album in the first place. And I put off listening to it for a year or two just so I could get some distance. And it's a great disc that's equally soothing and cathartic. It's this kind of great spot between progressive rock and post-rock. And I really connected with it earlier this year in particular because some of the topics on this album deal a lot with looking back on life in light of maybe life ending or the mindset that a person has towards the end of their life. And so I really resonated with that earlier this year because I lost my grandmother at 94 years old, great life. But I was listening to this album a lot kind of when she passed. And so it really resonated with me a lot. Even without that subjective context, this album is a great listen. It's beautifully rendered, great songs, wonderful melodies, and majestic, almost orgasmic climaxes to many of these songs, as a post-rock album would do. Now, on the other hand, you've got Floating Points, Pharoah and the London Symphony Orchestra. This album is magical, I think, in many ways. I'm planning on covering it very soon, so I don't want to get too far into it, but this collaboration between sort of DJ, producer, jazz background, polymath that is Floating Points, and Pharoah Sanders, it's hard to even say which has the most important role on this. And then you add the London Symphony Orchestra on top of that. From its very inception, the album is mesmerizing and beautiful and really will take you to other places. Its structure is fascinating. And in many ways, I've talked earlier this year about how sometimes I think that genres don't cross, they blend, they dissolve into each other. This is an album that I think dissolves genre. So despite my love for Soup and my personal subjective connection to it, I really have to give this one to Floating Points, Pharoah Sanders and the London Symphony Orchestra, just on the basis of its vision and its scope and the continued engagement that I get from the album. So it proceeds to the next round. It takes out Soup, unfortunately, but I would still suggest checking it out. At the end of this video, I'm going to put up some links to songs from both of these albums, as well as some links to where I first talked about them in previous posts. So please take the time to check out those recordings on your own. Maybe you can make your own decision. You can agree or disagree. It's great. I think that both of those albums are incredible. But check it out on your own. Tell me what you think. And I will talk to you soon. Till then, catch you on the flip side.